I send an email to my best friends and family, and I just say, hey, I've lost my job. I'm doing something crazy. I don't need you to talk me out of it. I've already made the decision to hitchhike from Los Angeles to Seattle, and then to document this trip on a Polaroid camera. And I'm going to pitch it to Polaroid. So my sister dropped me off, and I started hitchhiking. I finally got my first pickup. A 68-year-old man, he looks at my Polaroid camera and he says, is that a 1983 Polaroid 600? And I was like, yeah, it is. He said, yeah, I used to be the CEO of Polaroid from 1980 to 2000.
No fucking way.
I'm like, the what of Polaroid? From win to win for 20 years? And I was like, you have no idea. I have this Polaroid camera. I'm Polaroid Pete. I'm going on this journey to document this story.
Hey y'all, I am so excited to share episode 4 of Rock Bottom featuring Vincent Coconato. Coco is the founder of Bob's Dance Shop along with his friends known as the Bobs. If the name doesn't ring a bell, I guarantee you've seen at least one of their viral videos or saw them at Lollapalooza or on tour with Sophie Tucker or Purple Disco Machine, or maybe on a Spotify playlist because they just released their first ever single, Move It, which is a banger. But frankly, the accolades don't matter. This is a fascinating story. It's a story that proves God or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, will give you the clearest signs when you get out of your comfort zone and trust, as evidenced in the intro clip. It's a story of how important community is and how you can cultivate it, give and receive. And it's a story of actionable tips on how to actually get out of your head and tap into source wisdom that can help you make better decisions that will ultimately change your life. This episode was recorded 2 months ago in Brooklyn, where the Bobs live. And I want to acknowledge I'm a little bit late on editing, as one does when they're going through a rock bottom, hence the name of this podcast. But I just want to say thank you to whoever out there is listening. We've surpassed 300 downloads. I even learned that my Aunt Carla has been listening to these episodes front to back, and it really warmed my heart. If you have been enjoying these episodes, please follow, subscribe, do the 5-star thing. But I'd also like to hear from you. If you can write in and just tell me a little bit about who you are and if there's anything you're interested in hearing more about, please do. Anyway, all that aside, please welcome Vincent Coconato.
My favorite memory of you was when you were recording one of the Flash Bobs. And there were a few young girls there. For them, it must have been their dream to be coached on how to dance by Coco and the Bob Squad. And those girls look so happy. The way that you encourage them to bring their full hearts out, the sparkle in those girls' eyes and then on the mother's face.
When you're empowering somebody, you're reflecting their greatest potential to them. Or these like manifested disco balls. You look into a disco ball and you don't only see yourself, you see the entirety of the space. Talking to those girls, I'm looking at the younger version of myself and thinking of like, okay, I remember when I was timid, when I was insecure or shy, and I still am in certain instances. And what they want to do is contrast to what they've been told how to do. And you almost need to give them this power to not like self-criticizing themselves or feeling uncool. And that's usually what it comes down to, even with adults, is this made-up sense of what cool is. And looking weird or looking silly is a bad thing, but it's actually a very powerful thing.
If we look at where you're at now, from the outside, it looks like you're killing it. You have millions of followers across all your platforms. You get to dance with some of the coolest artists on the scene right now. You're launching your first ever music. You've also built an incredible community around you. So not only this beautiful space that we're in right now, where you get to live with the Bobs and you host these incredible parties with some of the coolest people, but also like the 8th annual camping trip in the desert outside of LA. Just like there's just so much in this universe of you. But it wasn't always like that. Tell me about your rock bottom.
Yeah, I think there's a few rock bottoms, but I'll focus on one of them because it was probably the rock bottom of the rock bottom. I grew up in Florida, went to college in Florida. I'm a Florida man, Florida educated. And I was closeted for all those 23, 24 years until I moved to California. And my idea was I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to work for a big director, which I did. I worked for Ridley Scott. I was a PA. My first day on the job in LA, I was asked to scrape poop out of a wickered carpet.
That's hard to get poop out.
Hard to get poop out. They didn't know whose dog it was. They couldn't even ask like the owner. So they're like, Coco, we're so sorry to ask you this, but like, could you clean the poop up? And so I had to like get a face mask. I had a toothpick. I was on all fours. I'm scraping the poop. And then I had to scrub, and then scrape. And I remember coming up for breath and just realizing like, this is going to be part of my story one day.
I guess anyone going through a low point in life, just think of that as the storytelling.
Yeah, right. No one likes a story that's like always good, always up. People like a roller coaster, right? So I went from that job to another entertainment job as a PA. And I was kind of like the vibe director of this company. So anybody that came in from clients to employees, my job was to just make them feel taken care of. I would wear tropical shirts. I'd say welcome to paradise. I greeted everybody with a heart-to-heart hug. I carried a boombox around and just brought music and life to a space that desperately needed it.
Literally the personality hire.
For sure. But it was great for me because I didn't really want to have to think hard. Like I didn't want to have to use so much brain energy to work because I ultimately wanted to be an artist. I wanted to direct. I wanted to create. And we always think, oh, I need a job in order to do these things. But you kind of want to be intentional with what job you have, because if you're burning all of your time and energy doing something you don't love, you don't really have the time for the things that you do. So that was one thing I had figured out then. I'm around 24. This is 2015. While doing this job, I was creating my brand, which was Twisted Oak Creative. It's like this space in between the stars, right? But then the stars themselves are the projects, right? So the first star that was born in this universe was Bob. And after Bob, I created 11 more characters. There was Rico, Donnie, Frankie, Hans, Rhonda, Val, Stevie, Richard. And then Polaroid Pete comes, which is my rock bottom, where we're getting to. So working this job, I'm cruising. I'm not making so much money, but I'm making enough money. So upon my fourth time asking for a raise, I'm now like my third year in. I know I am a valuable resource to this company. And I have a meeting with the managing director and I say, hey, is there any way I can get a pay raise? Blah, 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 blah. Jen Hall. She said, Coco, you're the highest paid client service guy in the industry. I don't think this is about more money for you. I think you want to be a director. So if you want to be a director, the way that you become a director is you go and direct. But if you want more money, I can give you this lateral promotion, but you're going to have a lot more work responsibility that you probably won't enjoy, and you'll have less time to do your side projects. And I don't think that's what you want. And I was like, damn, she's reading me so well. But it was like the best truth that I needed.
That's leadership right there.
Yeah. So I was like, got it. And so I gave her and the company a 1-month notice while I'm finishing out. This other company hears that I'm leaving and they say, hey, you have a superpower. We want to create a position for you. We're going to call it the Director of Culture. We'll pay you what you want us to pay you. You can start as soon as January of the next year. So I was like, okay, well, this is a good transition. And they have this like position on a silver platter. I'm making a decent salary. I've got my Tacoma truck, the main bedroom of a beautiful home, wonderful roommates, living lavishly. And I continue creating these characters under Twisted Oak, right? After 9 months, I go to Burning Man. And while I'm on the playa on my birthday, I had this aha moment. I won't tell you what led to this aha moment, but there may have been some acid involved. And realized that the thing that I really wanted for myself, I was terrified of. And what was I terrified of?
What were you afraid of?
Humiliation. And that's always been a reoccurring fear of mine. The idea of starting my own business and doing my own thing was like, well, that's exciting, but what if I fail miserably and it's humiliating? So I was like, well, you know what? Holding on to a job that's not fulfilling my dreams is not going to help.
The golden handcuffs.
I'm going to quit this job without having anything to pivot to because it's going to force me to lean into this dream. This safety net was preventing me from accessing what I wanted. Because most people say, oh, I'm not going to quit until I have something else to go to. That takes faith out of the magic, right? Magic can't really offer you anything when you're clinging on to fear.
And it's funny you say that because the conventional advice I always hear is wait until you have something lined up, or start doing your side hustle on the side. And it's like this obsession with security.
Yeah. Nature doesn't grow in comfort. Nature grows in discomfort. Diamonds aren't made without pressure. Neither is rice. So when you understand that, you have to create your own pressure cooker. And once you realize that a job is giving me this false understanding of what is stable, it's actually preventing me from accessing my power. So I make this decision. I'm going to quit this job. I go into the office. They call me in. They say, Coco, we're having to close our doors and we have to let everyone go. And I was like, oh no hard feelings. Like, this is okay. This is actually great timing because I was going to let you know that I was going. So the wish from the universe was granted.
Wow.
I had to sell my truck, sublet my room immediately. My roommate at the time, Mireille, she was working this job where they did catering every day. And she would bring home the extra food from catering, and that's how I would have eat. I essentially ran out of my money. There was nothing in my bank account, nothing in my savings account. And this is where what I thought was keeping me stable was not actually the thing keeping me stable. So now I go back to Twisted Oak. I have this universe of characters. And I told you that Polaroid Pete becomes the rock bottom. Polaroid Pete was this idea I had years prior, this wild card that if I ever reached a point of desperate despair, Polaroid Pete was to hitchhike from Los Angeles to Alaska and then to document this trip on a Polaroid camera. And I'm going to pitch it to Polaroid. Polaroid's going to buy this idea, and this is going to be the start of my production company. So I create this pseudo character. Pete has a blue turtleneck, farmer's overalls, red Converse, a trucker trapper hat with the ears come down and it's got a bill.
Which I see that hat make a lot of appearances.
Yeah, it's very a goofy hat. When I go like that, the ears flop around. I send an email to my best friends and family and I just say, hey, I've lost my job. I'm doing something crazy. I don't need you to talk me out of it. I've already made the decision. What I'm asking for is your support. If you have the means, I have a GoFundMe. If you don't have the means, just cheering me on and believing in me is a currency that I really need right now. So my sister dropped me off on the farthest edge of Los Angeles in Malibu, and I started hitchhiking.
Do you have a cardboard sign or something? Or
I did. My cardboard sign said, runaway bride, good vibes. So I really wanted to add humor because the art of hitchhiking is you only have a few seconds to make an impression on someone. So I was dancing, I was flopping my ears, I had this sign, and I tried and I tried and I tried. And I finally got my first pickup. The 68-year-old man. I look him in the eyes, I'm nervous, and he looks at my Polaroid camera and he says, is that a 1983 Polaroid 600? And I was like, yeah, it is. He said, yeah, I used to be the CEO of Polaroid from 1980 to 2000.
No fucking way.
The what of Polaroid? From when to when for 20 years? And I was like, you have no idea. I have this Polaroid camera. I'm Polaroid Pete. I'm going on this journey to document this story. And he was like, well, I can't tell you that I still work for Polaroid because it's kind of a whole new company, but I'll tell you everything I can tell you from the origin of Polaroid to the decline. The chances of this guy being that guy was so 1 in a billion that it was oh, there's something.
That's 1 in a trillion.
Right. Because he was visiting from Boston, was on a work trip, had the day off, rented a car that day, decided to drive the PCH because he had never been on the PCH, said that his dad used to hitchhike and tell him stories, and then I reminded him of his dad, and so he decided to pull over and pick me up. And I was like, okay, the chances of that happening are very slim. And that's when, if I was struggling to believe in anything, this was this forceful moment of like, you better believe in something because clearly you're being looked after. Like, that's not an accident. Initially, the trip was supposed to go to Alaska, but because I started in November, it was too cold to go anything north of Seattle. So between LA and Seattle, I had 43 drivers. Everybody ranged from as young as 17, as old as 80, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, lesbian, gay, couples, you name it. Like every demographic of person picked me up. And what was protecting me was this intuition. We forget that intuition is something that we always have, but it's a muscle that if you don't exercise it, you don't even know that it's there.
When you're like on this hitchhiking trip, were there any doubt moments?
Yeah. For the first 3 days, I was cruising. I was like,
You have the high of the Polaroid CEO.
I was on a roll. I was like meeting amazing people. This person would be like, oh my gosh, I have to take you to this campsite. Best campsite I've ever camped at. These people taking me to meet their spouses, their kids, inviting me to the dinner table, staying the night at their house, giving me food to take with me. Like the people were going above and beyond until I reached a valley of despair in my hitchhiking trip, like a clog in the wheel. It might have been day 5, but it was north of San Francisco, and people are honking. People are like doing this to me, like they're giving me that. And I'm like, what? I thought that I was like writing too small. So I kept rewriting the words on my cardboard. And for about 8 hours, I didn't get a single ride. So I threw my hands up because I ran out of daylight, and you don't really want to be hitchhiking at nighttime. And the little funds that I had, I rented a Motel 6 the next morning. I had to go dumpster diving for a new cardboard. I'm on all fours, and I'm just like, writing the direction, writing the city that I need to go to. And this older man starts to approach me, and I'm kind of nervous. And he said, sorry to bother you, but were you trying to hitchhike north on the PCH yesterday? And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I really meant to turn around and talk to you because nobody local is actually driving that road. He said, but if you're trying to get north, if you wouldn't mind me giving you advice, if you backtrack a mile, there's a freeway that bypasses this whole coastline and will get you to your destination way quicker. I was like, if this isn't a sign from the you-know-what, then I'm going to take it. So sure enough, I thanked the man. I backtracked. And as I'm about to get to this freeway, this car pulls up behind me. And sure enough, it's the same guy. He says, fuck it, get in my car. I'm taking you. So I get in the car with this man, still a little bit unsure. Like, I think this guy has my best interest in mind, but I'm still a little bit like he could be a serial killer. He says, do you mind if I stop at the 7-Eleven? Because I need a 7-Up. And like, that's just like my ritual when I make this drive. So we go to the 7-Eleven. He puts the car in park, leaves the keys in the ignition, leaves me in the car as he goes in to get his 7-Up. And I'm like, if this isn't a sign of trust, like this guy's trusting me with his car, I'm going to trust him getting me to where I need to go. And I ended up having the best conversation with this guy. Sure enough, got me to my destination within 2 hours. And then from there, it was bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom. Like the flow started flowing again.
Wow.
And that for me was a reminder that sometimes you have to pivot. When you're attached on something and you're forcing it. And
so you're
not
attached
just,
to the PCR route.
Yeah, like PCH, because I'm like, oh, this is what I said I was going to do. I'm going to hitchhike the PCH to Seattle. But I didn't know that this part of the PCH was a very dangerous drive. And the only people who were driving it were tourists. And tourists aren't really going to pick up a hitchhiker.
And this fire that you had in you, like, did you ever have it before?
Well, definitely it was the bonfire of passion because there was a lot of desperate measure. When you're thrown in a deep swimming pool and you're sinking and sinking, but you're not hitting the bottom. And so you start to fear, and then your fear cap comes on and you start to panic because you assume I'm getting dragged down and I'm going to run out of air and I won't be able to reach until you touch the bottom to realize that the bottom isn't really the end. It's kind of this foundation that you push off of to come back to the surface to realize, oh, like I actually can swim. And once you've touched the bottom, you fear it less. You approach life a lot differently.
That's a beautiful visual.
And this trip taught me a lot of things. One of them, it showed me my privilege because I think had I been a person of color, had I been female, my trip experience would have been different. And even though I'm a queer man, I was still able to mask my queerness in areas that I didn't feel safe. And not everybody has that privilege. And the second lesson is, like there's more to wealth than your finances. I now have endless time and energy. I'm healthy. I'm excited. I'm adventurous. And out of that trip, I came back and I looked at all these Twitsudo characters because now I don't have a job to come back to. So I need to start something. I needed to take what I've already created, pick one of these characters, and grow them into a superstar. And that was Bob. December of 2019. This is a month after I'd done my hitchhiking trip. This is 3 months after I lose my job. It's all leading to 2020, which is the Pandemia Lovato.
Pandemia Lovato.
Yeah. I started Bob's Dance Shop without money, but I started it with the currency of community. And I made my Instagram account. I invited all my friends. I said, come to this class. Friends come free. Like if you have someone you want to bring, $10 ticket. And I wasn't really profiting, but I was getting people in the studio and creating content and showing the fun that we were having until March of 2020. Now we're in lockdown. I had to take it virtual because we could no longer meet in person. And I was too nervous to be on camera like this because I don't like doing this. You're holding the camera, I'll put on a show. If I'm holding the camera, I'm super insecure. So Lito and Lucas at that time joined me. And that from that Sunday on, it was like, oh, this is way bigger than me. They joined me. We brought Cameron on. And Bob's Dance Shop, the group formed. We were all broke. We were making like bare minimum government paychecks. But we were kind of like sleeves rolled up. Let's just get gardening. We each have our own personal dreams. But Bob was this ecosystem that connected all of our roots together. And the more we gave to Bob, the more we got for ourselves. And Polaroid Pete gave me the clarity, gave me the confidence, gave me the conviction that I need to do this thing and there's nothing else I would rather do. And before then, I was too afraid to come to that terms because I was comfortable. When you're comfortable, your lens is here. When you're uncomfortable, your lens goes all the way around you and inside you. You can call it the universe, you can call it nature, you can call it God, you can call it whatever you want to call it. I don't like to limit what that thing is. I like to say, if I want air inside this room, if it's like feeling sticky and stale, I'm not going to open up one window. I'm going to open up every single window and every door. Why would I limit the possibility of air flowing through? And that's like my take on faith. Why would I limit what I can believe in? So I'm a receiver of just life.
And clearly life's looking out for you. I mean, the synchronicity of the Polaroid CEO being in there must have been such a wonderful signal to have.
Yep.
Did the Polaroid campaign ever like manifest into something?
I haven't. And mainly because I see where Bob is going and I see the greatest potential of Bob. The more that Bob grows, the more there's a demand and a desire to know, where did Bob grow from? Like, oh,
It's a nice bottle of wine that you're holding on to.
Exactly.
There'll be a time to open that baby
there'll
up.
be a time to open it up.
So speaking of wine, let's talk about the origin story of the grapes. You grew up as a fruity person in a pretty conservative place and even became frat president. What was going on?
I grew up in Bible Belt, Pike County, Florida. I wouldn't change anything about my upbringing because everything shapes you. I was an athlete. I was a leader. I did anything and everything to give me this feeling of validation, of worthiness, because the underlying truth was that I felt unworthy of love because of my misconception of what God was and the rule book of the Bible, because that's where I grew up. That, I can't be loved because I am this thing. And therefore I need to prove my lovability. I need good grades. I need to get these accolades. I need to do all of these things in order to make myself worthy of love. So even going to college, it was like, I need to do what people would least expect me to do. I'm going to join a fraternity. I'm going to turn this fraternity from not having a reputation to being the top fraternity on campus. And that was fulfilling. It gave me something to be like, I'm focused. I'm doing this thing.
For those who, because it's going back to school season soon, so there'll be a lot of viewers who are probably in fraternities or sororities. What advice would you give them?
Well, I'll give it more broader because I feel like most viewers may not want to transform a fraternity or sorority. Those years of your life between 18 and 22, 23 are pivotal years. Unfortunately, our society says you have to pick a major and have your life planned out. And like, it's way too early to know what you want to do. So my advice, if you have the means, travel and leave the country. Study abroad or do something, because anything that will get you out of the context of what you grew up in will give you more information on who you are. If you can't leave the country, go to college far away from home. I had to go in-state tuition because that's where I had financial support. But I went up to where it wasn't so easy for me to come home all the time. Go be in a space that's unfamiliar and do it alone, even if it's for a month.
Yeah.
Because you'll come back from those trips with a lot more wisdom. I studied abroad my senior year in college to Iceland, and even that was an expense. And after that, I didn't have the means to leave the country. So I would drive to the desert when I was in LA. I would do small road trips within reach and sleep out of my car to save money. But I would purposely do things that made me uncomfortable. And every time I would always come back with a new download.
I definitely want to plug what you're saying about getting out of your comfort zone. I think if you are in college, you should be optimizing for character growth and development, because you're literally at the beginning of your adulthood. And two, on the note of exchange, I totally agree with that. I used to work in the exchange office at my school. Like, I was so into exchange. I got the job at the exchange office. And still to this day, it's my favorite job. And like, anyone who needs advice on exchange, come talk. Because a lot of times the schools even have bursaries and scholarships for it, depending on where you're going. Everyone in the US could go on exchange somewhere, like other than London, UK,
Right.
which by the way is the most expensive place to go on exchange. If you go on exchange in Asia or to Eastern European countries, you can actually save money sometimes because the cost of the dormitories, the cost of the food will be so much less than even like a Midwestern American town.
Every US person had to study abroad or leave the country for a period of time, I think the world would be a better place. Unfortunately, it's a privilege to be able to travel. It's a privilege to even go to college. And that's where I'm giving a spectrum. If you can and are going to college, prioritize a study abroad program. But if you can't afford that, if you're like, I'm not going to college, I would say, go do what you have access to.
That's really great advice. Also, just like as an aside, like I'm feeling a very similar parallel with how I ended my job, which was a mix of like I was thinking about quitting, but then they kind of like laid it for me.
I think on that topic, because this is something that's happening more frequently with my friends, is they're losing their jobs. And I say, I'm sorry for the emotional energy that you're feeling from this, but I'm actually going to congratulate you because not having a job is actually a beautiful opportunity. And you now have the wealth of time, energy to actually recalibrate. Because if I'm going to do this work thing again, I want to do it in a way that's going to be more suitable for me.
I remember at Trona, you were giving a little speech before dinner, and it was like, hey, if you need advice, if you need help quitting your job, come talk to me.
Right.
This one's for the LinkedIn crowd. What would you say to someone who, has a secure job, feels like they're lacking purpose, but conventional wisdom's like, oh, we'll just start building your side hustle on the side, or oh, wait until something takes off before you do it. What would you say to that person?
If you are unhappy with your job, that's an emergency. Do not wait for this lightning of an opportunity that's going to change your world, because nothing in the future is real. It's an imagination. The only thing you have is the current moment. If you feel like unfulfilled, then you are off the beaten path of your purpose. Your purpose is this intersection where the things that you do really well without even trying, intersecting with what you enjoy doing. So doing them doesn't feel like work. It just feels like me doing what I love to do. Then there's this other intersection, which is, what does my community need? Because then what you do fulfills you and provides service and a need for someone else, right? So now you have purpose. So your energy is not an expense and it's investment. And how you know when you're investing is when you have return of income, return of investment, right? That return of income isn't always measured in finance. I invest in people, community, experiences, cultures, knowledge.
But let's go back to when you were in the job, or like the golden handcuff situations. I feel like sometimes it's really hard to make that assessment.
Right.
Because what you're saying is coming from a place of self-awareness. And I think a lot of people are thinking that they enjoy their jobs, or they're coming up with excuses for it. Because I'm so close to these cool productions, even though I'm, being berated all the time. Oh, I'm working on things that matter. People get lost in the sauce. What's one indicator that someone could use to actually realize that they're not living it?
I think everybody knows intuitively. It's a feeling. If we actually feel our solutions, feel our answers, they're quite direct, but we usually don't trust that. We're like, nah, I need to logically make sense of this. And the logic doesn't always add up. So I think the indicator, one of my tricks, if you are submerged in the manufactured world, this is a manufactured world. This chair is manufactured. Your clothes are manufactured. Your mustache, right? The roads we drive on, the rule books we follow is all part of someone's dream, a collective dream, that everyone bought into this dream, that it made it real. Now we all think that this is reality and this is the way we do things. When you realize that, everything that we experience starts in the imagination. If you are only imagining in the manufactured world, you will never fully see your greatest potential. You ever look at a sky full of stars, which you would assume would be intimidating, but it's actually all fulfilling. There's a level of peace when you look at stars, because stars are a projection of who we are. And so you're seeing this, the greatest projection of, this is who I am. Nature is the same way. But we try to make sense of ourselves in the manufactured world. We have our neighbors, our roommates, our partners, our family, who constantly keep us in these prisms, in these boxes, in our roles. My role as doctor, my role as student, as coach, as mother, as brother. We are living through the role, and this role itself is keeping us trapped. For me, in order to leave the role of business owner, roommate, teammate, I have to excuse myself in nature. And I'm talking about a natural habitat that does not have cellular service, bringing me into this manufactured world. To be able to access that space is a privilege. And the more time you can allocate for that moment, the more clarity you will have on what it is that you want to do, what it is that feels right. Our bodies are wild things, but we're so disconnected from our bodies because we're so attached to our brains. So leaving the manufactured world is essentially leaving your manufactured brain. Going into nature is tapping more into your body, which is what I'm telling you is, what do I tell these people? Don't think your way through your current situation, but feel it. But if you're so trapped in the brain that you won't know the feeling. And that's where I do road trips. I go to upstate. When I was in California, I would go to the desert and I would just be in a wide open natural habitat where it was just silent. And I wasn't filling the silence with music, with conversation. I was just being, existing, listening. And that's where you find profound wisdom. But most people fear that. They want to bring a partner or bring a friend with them. And sure, that's better than not doing it. But if you've ever traveled with a friend, it's fun and exciting. They're still bringing you into this manufactured brain. And so that's why I like to give myself space from that world. Like what I'm creating in the Babaverse, it doesn't exist. And I've realized the more I try to explain what it is I'm trying to create, most people are like, they can't comprehend it. They can only comprehend how they perceive Bob's Dance Shop. And rather than letting that stop me, I just keep on creating.
Yeah. Wow. If we go back to like the very beginning, like who was like the first person who got it? There's your friends in your community and like, this is cool. But was there really an external person where you just got this huge validation rush that you were doing the right thing with Bob's Dance Shop?
It was the Bobs. It wasn't like a full trust, but it was like enough trust. They were putting in sweat equity into basically a vision that they were trusting of mine. And that was a good indication of like, well, clearly they see something in it for themselves. And that's actually a good thing because I don't want you showing up out of obligation. I don't want you showing up for me. I want you showing up for you and for all of us. But there still was a lot of trust building. And then my best friends, like Robbie Berkey, one of my fraternity brothers, he was always been one of my biggest supporters when we were making these videos. He just was always showing up. And even times where I needed money, he would just donate. Then one video that we made for fun in our house during the pandemic, Google reached out and said, hey, we want to license a clip from your dance video. And I was like, this is pretty cool because it was the first time we were getting a financial reward from something we were just doing for fun. And then I started calling all my peeps in the industry like, yo, how much do I charge them like per year? Like, what's the agreement? And
What was the number?
I think I landed at like $7,000 per year to license 1 second of our clip.
Wow.
And
And they signed
there's
it.
a lot of money and they signed it.
Wow.
And then I just would split that between the Bobs who were involved.
That must have been a huge validation moment because I think, especially for early creators, like obviously this podcast is a huge investment in terms of time and energy, but when you start getting these early indicators, they must be huge dopamine rushes and validation moments that fuel the fire.
Yeah.
Were there times when you were working on Bob's and maybe even like as the collective group where you had the last pieces of wood and you're almost going down to embers and you didn't know how you're going to feel like the next piece of it?
Yep. 2020, we started as a group. In 2021, we get invited to audition for America's Got Talent. We got 3 yeses, 1 no. And in my mind, I'm like, well, this is the way in which we're going to become popular. People will discover us. And I remember I moved to a really expensive apartment in Venice on the boardwalk because I wanted to push myself to work harder to attract the funds in order to afford this place. Then I get a call from America's Got Talent and they say, hey, all the auditions are complete and we unfortunately have decided not to push you guys through to the final round. So then I had this oh shit moment. I go to get my haircut, my card declines. I'm like having this breakdown. America's Got Talent isn't working, and I feel the pressure of my team who's depending on me. So I called my best friend Mireille, and she said, "Hey, I made more money than I thought I would, and I'm gonna give you like $300 if you want to go have your desert moment." And then my sister was like, "Hey, I don't need my car for this week." I take my sister's car and I go to Sedona. It's a 4-day trip. I drive in silence, no music, just me on the road for 9 hours, then me camping for the next couple of days, me driving back for 9 hours in silence. And in this silence, like I said, wisdom comes when you give it the space to arise and you don't fear it. And the wisdom I got was reminded, do what you have access to. And it just so happens that the following weekend, LA was lifting their social distancing mandate. We've been in the pandemic for a year and a half. People are desperate for joy. They're desperate for connection. So the idea came, do a flash mob. Make it a flash mob, because that's something you do really, really well. So I got back, I called the Bobs together, I created a choreography. We had about 50 people sign up. I had one friend record it on a singular iPhone, not a multi-camera, not a fancy camera, just an iPhone. We did it on the Ocean View Park in Santa Monica. There was a band playing, and when the band went on break, we asked them, "Hey, we're going to do a flash mob. Can you play this song?" So they played the song, and down the hill I come. It was, "It goes around the world just la 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 la." That song. And that was the first flash mob we did as a group. I took that video, I posted it, I went to bed, I woke up, I have text messages from all my East Coast friends. They're like, "Yo, Kim Kardashian just shared your flash mob video." And I'm like, "What?" And then I open up the account on TikTok and on Instagram, and our following is just skyrocketing. All these major meme accounts are resharing this video. Celebrities are resharing it. It has like a mega viral moment. Probably over time, accumulated close to 1 billion views across all the different reshares that it got on all the meme accounts, on the TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. Our following went from 39,000 to 250,000 within 2 days.
Wow.
And then my email inbox is just, the Instagram inbox is flooded with people from around the world basically saying like, "This video gave me a whole new life. This video is getting me through cancer. This video is getting me through grief. This video stopped me from killing myself." And that singular video got us to a place where we could sustain ourselves. Netflix was reaching out. Amazon Prime was reaching out. Major film networks, big companies were reaching out to sponsor us. And I didn't even know what to do with it. I had to bring on a friend who was like, "Hey, I'll start fielding these emails and start negotiating prices." America's Got Talent calls me back to say, "Hey, we've decided to air your episode." And they use our picture as the icon for the episode. But the moral of this story was that the pivot itself did way more than what America's Got Talent did. And from that, we started getting booked for Lollapalooza, for Austin City Limits. We started touring with Sophie Tucker. We eventually start touring with Purple Disco Machine. And all these income streams start to build and create this structure. And then I had to start assembling a team to be able to keep up with this infrastructure. And now we have this ecosystem. And dance was never the end goal. Dance was always the moment that would be a bridge to the next moment. Once dancers start making their own music, they become the artist. And so this week, we release our first song, and the song comes out with a music video. And the most important part is that we are opening up a portal into the bigger more intentional, more vast understanding of what Bob's Dance Shop actually is versus how it appears on the internet. Rather than talking about it, it's a matter of showing it. Hey, yeah, we make music, and here's the music, and here's a music video. And this isn't the only thing we're doing. We're actually working on an album, and the album tells a much bigger story. That's unfolding.
And then what's beyond the being an artist and the music?
I'm a director. I eventually want to tell more narrative stories, direct feature films. It's ultimately building and growing a world. And whatever is necessary to create that world and to expand it is like, it's endless possibility. It's creating an immersive space, maybe a theme park. What I would hope is that Bob outlives all the Bobs. So right now, it's going from dance group, TikTok influencers, which I've never seen us as influencers. It just was like the way that we got popular. I've always seen myself as an artist. And I'm if the camera could see this entire space is the world. It's like a portal into that world. The design, everything from the fashion to the architecture, it's world building. That's artistry. But I've always had to prove myself as an artist. I've always had to prove myself worthy. That's always been this reoccurring theme. And I think the music part really helps crystallize that art form.
From the outside, it seems like you have this like crystal clear vision, and not everyone has a vision. I talked to like 100 strangers in 20 days, and I realized that most people don't know what they want to do with their life as like a first step.
Right.
What would you say to that person?
I don't think everyone is meant to be a visionary. The visionary is a role. It's part of the Avengers. Some people have a specific vision, and other people are there to help assemble that vision. They're the ones that, okay, I see the dream. Thank you for laying that out for me. Here's the practical plan on how we're going to create that. And maybe perhaps you're not meant to have a vision. You're just meant to help be a part of a collective vision. You're looking in the wrong place to understand where that vision exists. Most people, I think, are trying to see their vision and find themselves in the materials that are already laid out, and are struggling to be like, well, that shape doesn't resonate with me, but I kind of have to use it because I don't really have anything else. Rather than saying, you know what, I'm going to construct my own shape because this fits me, even though it doesn't fit with everything else. Easier said than done. People will hear that. People will go, oh my God, that makes total sense. But the action of doing it, I've told many people that same trick. People are like, oh my God, I love what you said. But the action, that requires a level of will, like a level of desire. And if you don't have that, then life will probably put a certain pressure on you, like a job taking away from you, or losing someone in your family, or going through a terrible breakup. Life will happen in a way in which it forces you to come to this realization.
So the rock bottom's the glow up.
The rock bottom is definitely the glow up. It's giving you an opportunity to have a clear vision because you're so desperate and uncomfortable that you're kind of scraping at everything that you have to kind of start constructing this castle out of the little materials that you have. Until you look at the castle and you're like, that actually looks pretty good.
I guess really my last question is, what's something people should stop waiting for?
I think everyone's waiting for the right time. If you ever looked at a tombstone, your whole life, all the years that you lived, is the dash between 1 year and another year, right? I'm not going to say, one day my dreams will be fulfilled the moment I'm performing on a major stage as the artist, because I'm fulfilling my dream now. I'm still performing on major stages. I'm supporting other artists, but I'm still living a dream. So the only time you have is now. Why compromise anything else? If you call the genie and you grant your 3 wishes, the genie's going to grant you those wishes in this moment. And you have to realize that you are not only the wisher, but you are the grantor. And that's also the other misconception, is that the future will promise the reward. It's also that the external world will provide with you the solution. It's actually, the solution is finding the power within yourself to create the world that you want rather than waiting for someone to grant it to you. The moment you realize you are the magician is the moment you start making magic.
Coco, I really appreciate your time. I find you really inspiring. I know a lot of other people will too. And I'm really excited for Move It to come out, especially as something that I've listened to a few times. And now will be like the final production version of it.
I think if y'all can support new artists, don't do it if it doesn't feel authentic to you, but know that the easiest way you can support anybody is, especially online, is engagement. And that's like a very free act. Like if they have new music, add their song to a playlist. Any friend of mine that produces a new song, I add their song to this friend's playlist, because when your song is getting added to a playlist, it's kind of signaling to whatever platform you're on that it popularizes your song. And also, if they have a social media and they post about it, throwing even a couple emojis on the comment section or saving the post.
Way.
It's just like engagement is currency these days. And it's shocking to me when people don't support their friends or don't engage in their work. It's like you're starting this podcast and you're posting things, like your friends should just be showing up in the comments, because they're like, you're growing something new and you need all the help that you can get. And rather than asking for money,
How can you ask like friends who might not have that mindset, like, hey, like I'd appreciate if you just...
I mean, we post stuff all the time, and I think a lot of our friends just assume because we have as many followers as we do that there's not really any need for them to engage because other people are going to engage. That's not really true, because even with as much followers as we have, the algorithm does very, very rarely works in our favor. The algorithm will base its decision on the initial engagement from the moment it's posted. And so that's where I'm saying, if you're a friend, like, comment, even if it's like a heart emoji or a kissy emoji, a fire emoji. It is like the easiest and freest form of support that you can offer a friend who's especially going out on a limb and trying to start something fresh and get discovered. It's like, there is no harm in asking, hey, if you feel compelled, like, drop a heart, because like that actually helps the engagement. It just goes a long way.
Yeah, be a good friend and support your artist. I mean, at the end of the day, there's so much slop on the internet. You may as well just like watch your friend's full video,
or even be honest with your friend. Robbie, every time I would shoot a music video for Twisted Oak, he'd be like, Joey, I love this, I love this, I love this. However, I would have done this a little bit differently. And I'm like, fuck you, I love you.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
In the Bob world, we say bye-bye for now, and then you wave with your middle finger like that.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye for now.